On Easter Sunday, March 26, 1967, a man staying in the Malaysian jungle sets down his lighter, his cigarettes, and his watch. He walks out the door of his bungalow and never returns. The official explanation offered to the public was simple. A 61-year-old tourist decided to take an afternoon stroll through the dense terrain of the Cameron Highlands, lost his bearings in the thick fog, and succumbed to the elements. That 61-year-old was Jim Thompson. Known globally as the Silk King, he was a highly prominent, wealthy American expatriate who single-handedly revitalized the Thai silk industry. But men of Thompson's particular background do not simply lose their way, and a heavy smoker who always checks the time does not leave his watch and lighter on a table if he intends to be gone for long. The physical artifacts left in that room unravel the narrative of the wandering, lost hiker. Before he traded in textiles, James H.W. Thompson handled covert intelligence. He served as a lieutenant colonel in the Office of Strategic Services, the direct predecessor to the CIA. He retained deep ties to the Thai political underground long after his official retirement. In the escalating tensions of the Cold War, Thompson was a vocal, persistent critic of United States military policy in Southeast Asia. Highly trained intelligence officers with combat survival training possess an acute spatial awareness. They are conditioned to navigate hostile environments, track their own movements, and secure their own extractions. Viewing March 26th as a civilian tragedy ignores the victim's training. To understand what happened in the Highlands, we have to examine the timeline as the sudden termination of a covert operative. This 1960s map of Tanorada tracks his final hours. At 14:30, Thompson finishes lunch at Moonlight Bungalow and retires indoors. At 1500, a cook spots him standing alone on a large stone, looking over the valley. At 15:15, he enters the jungle, wearing only a short-sleeved shirt, cotton trousers, and leather slippers. Some investigators have proposed a voluntary disappearance, that the aging spy used his old skills to stage an exit and start a new life. Yet Thompson suffered from gallstones and left his vital, daily medication sitting beside his watch. A man executing a calculated vanishing act takes his pills. He also had zero financial or social incentive to vanish. He possessless Southeast Asian antiquities. The inventory of the bungalow dictates his intentions. He walked into the jungle at 15:15, planning to conduct a very brief, specific task, fully intending to return before the hour was up. The jungle surrounding the bungalow is undeniably hazardous. Local indigenous tribes routinely dig deadfall traps, deep pits lined with sharpened bamboo spikes to catch wild boar. If Thompson fell into a pit, the resulting search operation should have found him. Over 300 police officers, British soldiers, and local trackers scoured the immediate radius for weeks. They found zero physical evidence: no blood, no torn cotton fabric, and absolutely no footprints. Decades later, a 2017 documentary presented evidence of a deathbed confession that fills the gap in the physical record. The confession points directly away from an accident and toward the Communist Party of Malaya, the CPM. Applied to our timeline, the 15:15 departure makes immediate logistical sense. Thompson left his valuables on the desk because he was stepping out for a brief, clandestine rendezvous with CPM representatives operating in the Highlands. As a wealthy American with an extensive, verified background in U.S. intelligence, Thompson carried significant risk. During the meeting, CPM rebels likely grew suspicious of his motives and made the tactical decision to neutralize him. Thompson did not stumble blindly into a hidden bamboo trap. He walked outward to meet political contacts and stepped directly into a calculated ambush. The ensuing search operation was one of the largest in Southeast Asian history. Authorities brought in canine units, military helicopters, and even local mystics who lit firecrackers to ward off jungle spirits. The search grid yielded nothing, because the massive teams of police and volunteers were looking for a vulnerable, injured civilian waiting to be rescued. A trained guerrilla unit operating in their own territory handles a body entirely differently. To prevent an international incident involving a famous American, they would have buried the remains deep underground and meticulously sanitized the surrounding foliage. In a jungle environment, a total absence of evidence is not proof of an accidental disappearance. It is the exact physical signature of a professional cover-up. James Thompson spent 20 years building a highly visible legacy. He shaped modern Thai high society, drove immense economic growth through his silk enterprise, and lived a vibrant life in the center of Bangkok. But beneath that bright exterior, he remained tethered to the violent, zero-sum realities of Cold War espionage. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, those two disparate lives finally collided. Back in the Moonlight Bungalow, a metal lighter and a watch sit completely undisturbed on a wooden desk. They are the final, silent witnesses to a man who spent his life operating in the shadows, only to be entirely consumed by them.